Welcome to our deep dive,
Yeah.
into the captivating world of Windsor Castle.
Yeah.
It's the oldest occupied castle in the world.
Right.
But today we're going beyond the basics.
We are.
Get ready to uncover hidden gems and surprising facts about this iconic royal residence.
What's fascinating about Windsor is that it's not just a relic of the past, it's
Right?
still very much a living, breathing place, often with the reigning monarch in residence.
Yeah.
Imagine strolling through the staterooms, knowing that history is still being made within those very walls.
Oh, I'm already picturing myself wandering through those grand halls.
Yeah,
I read that Windsor was founded by William the Conqueror in the 11th century.
that's right.
That's going way back.
Yeah, and occupied really means just that someone still lives there.
Uh-huh.
It's fascinating to think that while you're exploring the castle, you could be walking the same halls as royalty.
Wow.
Speaking of the staterooms, did you know they're only open to the public for a limited time each year?
That makes them even more exclusive.
It does.
Inside the staterooms of Windsor Castle, with Dan Snow, actually gives us a peek inside.
Oh, cool.
I was surprised to learn that the staterooms are used for official receptions and state banquets, and they're filled with priceless art and furnishings.
It's incredible to think of the historical figures who have walked those very halls and dined in those rooms.
Yeah.
The castle has seen it all, from medieval feasts to modern-day diplomatic gatherings.
The castle's history really comes to life when you hear about those specific events.
Absolutely.
Our sources also mentioned something about hidden tunnels beneath the castle.
Yes.
Have you heard about those?
Yes, and they're shrouded in mystery.
Oh, really?
While the exact purpose of these tunnels is debated, some historians believe they were used as escape routes or for moving discreetly between different parts of the castle.
Hmm.
Imagine the secrets those tunnels could tell.
Okay, now that's what I call a true hidden gem.
That's right.
And I have to admit, I chuckled when I saw the best English tea cucumber sandwiches as a suggested activity.
Yeah.
It sounds so perfectly British.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Afternoon tea is such a quintessential British tradition, and what better place to enjoy it than near a castle steeped in history?
Speaking of activities,
Mhm.
unforgettable adventures at Incognito Windsor sounds intriguing.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like they offer escape rooms and treasure hunts, a fun way to engage with the castle's history in a totally different way.
And for those who prefer a more traditional experience, Tally-Ho Stables offers horseback riding through the beautiful countryside surrounding the castle.
Wow.
Imagine yourself riding through those rolling hills with Windsor Castle in the distance.
It's like stepping into a scene from a historical movie.
It is.
And of course, no exploration is complete without a sweet treat. The Windsor Fudge Kitchen is calling my name.
Definitely.
But honestly, with so much to see and do, why stop at just Windsor Castle?
Exactly. Our sources suggest exploring other royal palaces, castles, and residences across the UK, each offering its own unique glimpse into British history.
Thinking about all of those incredible places, from Buckingham Palace to the Tower of London, I'm already itching to plan a royal history tour.
And that brings us to an important point.
Yeah.
With so many royal residences to choose from, where do you even begin?
Well, for our listener, I think we should start by going back to the very beginning, to the founding of Windsor Castle by William the Conqueror.
Great idea, because to understand Windsor's significance, you need to understand its roots.
Right.
And you might be surprised to learn that even though it's almost 1,000 years old, Windsor Castle still reflects the vision of its Norman founder.
Interesting.
Yeah. William the Conqueror chose the site for Windsor Castle very strategically.
Okay.
On a chalk hill overlooking the River Thames, this gave it a commanding view of the surrounding landscape and made it easy to defend.
It's amazing how they were already thinking about those strategic advantages back then.
Right, and those Norman influences are still visible in the castle's architecture today, particularly in the Round Tower, which is one of the oldest parts of the castle.
I'm picturing those thick stone walls and narrow windows built to withstand a siege.
Exactly, but Windsor isn't just about medieval history.
Right.
Over the centuries, it's been shaped and reshaped by successive monarchs, each leaving their own mark on its design and purpose.
So it's like a tapestry woven together by different hands throughout history.
I like that.
One of our sources mentioned that King Henry II transformed Windsor from a wooden fortress into a stone castle in the 12th century.
Yes, and that was a major turning point.
Wow.
It marked Windsor's transition from a purely defensive structure to a more comfortable royal residence.
And speaking of comfort, King Edward III really went all out in the 14th century, didn't he?
He did indeed.
Yeah.
Edward III was responsible for creating the iconic St. George's Chapel, which is still used for royal weddings and other important ceremonies today.
It's beautiful.
He also established the Order of the Garter at Windsor, one of the oldest and most prestigious orders of chivalry in the world.
Wow. Windsor has been at the heart of so many significant events.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think of all the history that has unfolded within its walls.
And that history isn't always grand and glorious.
Oh, right.
Windsor Castle has also seen its share of destruction and turmoil.
That's right. During the English Civil War in the 17th century, the castle was seized by parliamentarian forces and used as a prison.
And in more recent times, in 1992, a devastating fire broke out in the state apartments, causing extensive damage.
Oh, wow.
It took years to restore the castle to its former glory.
Those events really show how even a place as seemingly invincible as Windsor Castle is vulnerable to the forces of history.
Precisely, and it makes you appreciate the efforts that have gone into preserving this national treasure for future generations.
Speaking of preserving history, I was particularly intrigued by the fact that Queen Victoria made Windsor her primary residence after the death of her beloved Prince Albert.
Yes, and that period of mourning had a profound impact on Windsor's atmosphere. Queen Victoria withdrew from public life, and the castle became a place of quiet reflection.
It's interesting how Windsor has served as a backdrop for both moments of great celebration and times of personal sorrow for the monarchy.
And that duality is part of what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a place where the personal and the political, the intimate and the grand have always been intertwined.
So if our listener is planning a visit to Windsor Castle, what are some must-see spots that really capture that sense of history and royal life?
Well,
Aside from the staterooms, of course, and those mysterious hidden tunnels.
I would definitely recommend a visit to St. George's Chapel.
Yep.
It's a masterpiece of Gothic architecture, and it's steeped in royal history.
And don't forget to take a stroll through the grounds of Windsor Great Park.
Oh, yes.
It's over 5,000 acres of stunning parkland
Yeah.
with ancient trees, lakes, and even a deer park.
Absolutely. And for those who are interested in art, the Royal Collection Trust at Windsor Castle houses a world-class collection of paintings, drawings, furniture, and other decorative arts.
It sounds like you could easily spend several days exploring Windsor Castle and its surroundings.
You certainly could, but even if you only have a limited amount of time,
Right.
you can still get a sense of the castle's grandeur and its importance in British history.
And now that we've explored the history of Windsor Castle, I'm even more excited about the idea of a royal history tour across the UK.
Me too. And the great thing is that each royal residence tells a different chapter in the story of the British monarchy.
So where should our listener go next on their royal history adventure? Well, if our listener is looking for a contrast to Windsor's grandeur, maybe they should head to the Palace of Holyrood House in Edinburgh, Scotland.
That's an excellent suggestion. Holyrood House is the official residence of the monarch in Scotland, and it has a very different feel to Windsor. It's more intimate, and it's steeped in the history of the Scottish monarchy.
I read that Mary, Queen of Scots, lived at Holyrood House during a very turbulent period in Scottish history.
That's right, and you can still see her chambers, which are remarkably well preserved. They offer a fascinating glimpse into the life of this iconic queen.
It's amazing how these places transport you back in time. You can almost feel the presence of the people who lived and ruled there centuries ago.
And that's the power of exploring royal residences. They're not just buildings, they're repositories of stories, memories, and emotions. They connect us to the past in a very tangible way.
Speaking of connections, I was thinking about the Tower of London. It's not technically a palace or a residence, but it's played such a significant role in royal history.
Absolutely. The Tower of London has served as a royal fortress, a prison, a treasury, and even a zoo over the centuries.
It's a reminder that the history of the monarchy is not always glamorous. It's also a story of power, intrigue, and sometimes tragedy.
And that complexity is what makes it so compelling. When you visit these places, you're not just seeing beautiful architecture and art, you're engaging with the full spectrum of human experience.
So as our deep dive into Windsor Castle and the world of British royal residences comes to a close, I'm left with a sense of awe and wonder.
Me too. It's been a journey through time, a reminder of the enduring legacy of the British monarchy.
And for our listener, I hope this deep dive has sparked a curiosity to explore these places for themselves, to step into history and experience the stories firsthand.
Who knows what secrets and insights they might uncover along the way. Happy exploring.